It is time for our weekly spin-off show that I call the NFC West Mixtape, hence the VHS tapes behind me. Rob Guerrera of the Gold Standard Network and myself get together every week and take a look around the NFC West, which is, to this point, been, I think, inarguably the best division in football. The Niners, Rams, and Seahawks all with a better than 82% chance or more of making the playoffs, according to the New York Times' latest projections. So we have a lot to talk about because the next 2 weeks, the division just plays within itself. This week, of course, we have 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks, Cardinals, unfortunately at the same exact time on Sunday. So we have a lot to break down. And then the following week, they kind of flip-flop. And we're staying in the NFC West for the next couple weeks. Before I get to this episode with Rob and our conversation, if you would, check out nwforever.com. As you see at the bottom of the screen there, that'll take you to the new and improved Patreon, where for one low price, you get all of my content, video, audio, Substack, Discord, get in on our monthly tournament to choose a video topic for me, all my Mariners and Seahawks content, all of it under one roof. Check that out if you would. Or if you want to support me in any other way, this QR code over my shoulder allows you to buy me a coffee or a beer, or you can check the description for all the other ways you can help support the show. That's going to do it for now because we had a lot to talk about today. This is Rob Guerrera and I talking about the NFC West on this week's edition of the NFC West Mixtape on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
What is good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the NFC West Mixtape. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Dan Viens from the Seahawks Forever podcast. What's up, Dan?
I'm good, man. We get kind of a round-robin tournament these next 2 weeks. We get to focus on two games for the next 2 weeks, and we'll know a lot more about this division in about 14 days.
It's about time the NFL schedule makers started to make our lives easier. So thank you. Yeah. Finally.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I was doing a Cardinals preview with a Cardinals content creator earlier this morning. I was saying the same thing. Like, all they have to do is punch parameters into a computer and the software can spit out the schedule, right? Like, that's where we are with technology. So why can't they make it so that every division opponent plays each other at least once in each half of the season? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that, the Seahawks are about to face the Rams next week for the first time this season, and yet we play the Cardinals this week for the second time. Makes no sense to me. And then, don't even get me started about week 1 and 18 for the 49ers and Seahawks. That's just
hate that. And then the Rams have only played one game in the NFC West to this point of the season, which doesn't make any sense. And they played like 6 games in the AFC. The whole thing is ridiculous. But nonetheless, we are here. It's Niners, Rams. It's Cards, Seahawks. Let's start with the Niners and the Rams because it is the bigger game. Because let's face it, the Cardinals are poopy and the Seahawks are very good. This is a massive game in the division. Obviously, a massive game for both teams, not just the 49ers and not just the Rams. Everything seems to be pointing in the Rams' favor in this game, Dan, but it was earlier when they played a few weeks ago and the Niners won.
Well, and that's why there's so much intrigue around all the divisional games the next couple of weeks because it's been so tightly packed. I mean, they're all literally within a game of each other there at the top. They all have, according to the latest New York Times projections, all three teams at 82% or better to make the playoffs. The division is still up in the air, obviously. All the tiebreakers are still at play. And it's a juggernaut for all three teams, really, when you look at the Rams and what they face, playing the 49ers this week, then the Seahawks, then the Buccaneers. Yep. I mean, if they go on a 3-game run here, they'll be in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed in the NFC potentially. And then you have this 49ers team that just continues to get racked with injuries, trying to hang on. And if they can take care of business the next 2 weeks against the Rams and the Cardinals, then their schedule gets a little bit easier. So can't ask for more intrigue within a division than we're going to get in the next 2 weeks.
And, now that we're at the point in the season where we are, teams, we talked about it when the Niners and Seahawks played in week 1. You don't know who you are yet as a team. Weird stuff happens in week 1. We're past that point now. I feel like teams really kind of have their identity. And I feel like for the Rams specifically, they have kind of figured it out. And it is Puka Nacua gets us down the field. And then when he gets to the red zone, we throw it to Devontae Adams. Not to say that Puka doesn't have any touchdowns, but I just feel like They understand the assignment now, and they got it, and they are humming. They are coming off a game where they absolutely humiliated the New Orleans Saints, 34-10. They were doing whatever they wanted with the football, and that's what scares me about this matchup with the Niners this week is the Rams just look like a buzzsaw right now.
Yeah, 2 back-to-back blowout wins because they took care of Jacksonville overseas before the bye.
Right.
In a season where blowouts have kind of been hard to come by, it's the real scary thing for me at the Rams. I think the last time we talked about them, it was that they've had to sort of adjust this year offensively because Sean McVay the last couple of years has gone much heavier towards the run. Like he wants to be a team that can physically pound the football at you and then throw it over the top with Matt Stafford and Nakua and Adams. They hadn't been able to run the football very well up until last week. And then, they did something on the bye week. They're healthier on the offensive line. That helps, but they're starting to get, we saw some life from Blake Corum last week, more so than maybe we have in the last year and a half. And that might give them a little bit of a two-headed monster, or at least the ability to ride the hot hand. If that team starts to run the football, then they become even more scary.
Yeah, we know McVay would love to dial up the run. Todd Gurley used to give everybody nightmares, and I'm sure he would love to get back to that.
Yeah.
But that's why I give him a lot of credit for being able to do both. Like he's had dominant run teams. He's had dominant teams with the quarterback now that he has in Matthew Stafford, who has 21 touchdowns and 2 picks this year.
Unbelievable.
Hell, he's playing better than ever.
There's a lot of metrics out there that would suggest that he's having his best season ever of his career 8 games in at the age of 37. It's pretty remarkable considering where we were a couple months ago with him in the OB department of the hospital getting an epidural.
I was dead wrong about his health and what it has shaped up to be. He's been phenomenal this year. Mm-hmm. And I haven't looked at the numbers specifically, but I mean, he seems to be a pretty good MVP candidate in my eyes right now. How could you argue against him?
I was just actually, before I hopped on here, reading ESPN's piece they came out with today with all their midseason awards, and they've actually got Mahomes 1, but then they have Stafford 2 for their midseason MVP. Sam Darnold right behind him at number 3.
All fair, in my opinion. It's hard to be better than 21 touchdowns and 2 picks.
Yeah, it really is.
But in this game specifically, the Niners are going to have to steal some possessions, whether it's a turnover on special teams or whether they continue. They've gotten some good kick returns lately from Brian Robinson. Can they continue to do that? I think the Niners are going to have to get a little lucky. The Rams special teams have been abysmal. They may have an entirely new kicking operation this week. Kicker, holder, long snapper. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Niners can get lucky. They don't have their pants on yet, and they screw a couple things up. I think that is going to have to be the way that the Niners take this game because they don't have the better team. And when you don't have the better team, those are sort of the hidden things that you need to have work to your advantage.
I mean, if you want a blueprint for how the 49ers can beat the Rams on Sunday, just go back 5 weeks to the first time they played. Like that's kind of how exactly the game that they're going to need again, right? Where they get into a little bit of a shootout. The offense moves the ball with Mac Jones and you just hang around long enough and maybe you have a couple of plays go your way. Obviously 5 weeks ago, it was the Kyren Williams fumble at the goal line when it looked like the Rams were about ready to take control of that game late.
Unbelievable. Like, if I continue to say, if Al Michaels was not calling that game, if somebody else was calling that game that was actually on top of things, because Al had a terrible night that night, that game would have felt so much more wild and so much bigger. It was a ridiculous finish. Alfred Collins punches Kyren Williams in the face and then strips the ball as he's on the 1 yard line. It was a crazy game. Obviously, we know the Niners stopped him on 4th down in overtime. And I was just doing a show with Jake Allen Bogan, who covers the Rams, I believe, better than anybody. And his big point to me was he was at that game, and he could not believe that the Rams were playing such soft coverage in the game and basically just giving Mac Jones easy throws and comfortable throws, safe throws where he wasn't going to turn the ball over. And they just let the Niners go up and down the field. And his big point to me this week is he doesn't think that's going to happen. He thinks the Rams are going to be up on the wide receivers and just going to say, we don't think you can beat us, Mac Jones. And until you prove you can, we're coming at you.
Well, it's what's so interesting about these mid-season and late-season matchups is sometimes teams change. They get healthier in some cases, or maybe they go out before the trade deadline and pick up another player. And the one real knock on that Rams defense the first half of the season was, some weakness maybe in the secondary, they go out and get Roger McCreary. And so it makes sense that they might be feeling a little bit better, like they can be a little bit more aggressive with that pass rush that can cause so many problems, maybe play a little bit more man-to-man on the back end. I can see that.
And the one thing for the 49ers that really helped them last time they played the Rams was the game script was always in their favor. They never trailed. They got the ball, boom, touchdown, go right down the field. Rams get sacked by Bryce Huff. They punt. Niners get the ball back. Boom, touchdown. And from that point on, Mac Jones never had to be uncomfortable. He never trailed in the game. The Niners were essentially kind of playing keep away for a lot of that game. That is a huge thing. And that if the Rams get up by multiple scores, that is red alert danger zone for the 49ers. That they cannot have that happen this week.
If I'm a 49er fan or coach or player or content creator, the thing that concerns me about this matchup is, when you go back to the first meeting in week 5, the Rams are flying high. They're coming off of handing the Colts their first win of the year. It's a short week. The Niners had been just ravaged by injury. Purdy had played the week before, right? And so we were back to, okay, now it's Mac, but he was hobbled and on a bad leg. I thought most of the people that watch football on this planet thought, well, this is a mismatch. I mean, it's, we feel badly for the 49ers that they're not at full strength, but like, how are they going to pull this off? And it kind of felt like the perfect trap game scenario in a sense. And they rush out to the quick lead, and that really dictated the game after that. This feels different because I have not seen Sean McVay as pissed off as in years than he was after that game. Like, he was livid, mad at himself, mad for how he prepared the team. This is a revenge game for the Rams, and I guess that's the thing that would concern me the most about the Niners is how they've circled this on the calendar.
Yeah, I believe sick to my stomach was the words that McVay used after that game, particularly because of that fourth down call in overtime when multiple 49ers defenders afterwards said, we knew what was coming. Like, they knew they were running it. They knew the play, and that's why they stopped it. And I'm sure that is just sat there in the back of Sean McVay's throat this whole time because he knows. Because think about it. The Rams and the Niners, where they are in the division, if that game had gone the other way, the Rams would be 7-1, and the Niners would be 5-4. The Niners would basically be in the muck in the division, and the Rams would be in great shape. And because of that game, now they're all bunched up. And now if the Rams lose this game, then the Niners are in the driver's seat for the division all of a sudden. So I'm sure he does have that revenge game on his mind 1,000%. And I don't know. I'm trying to look at this thing through rose-colored glasses, but I got to believe the Rams are going to come out and really lay one on the Niners.
Well, but if you're the 49ers, there's some reasons for optimism, right? I mean, there's clarity now at the quarterback position. There isn't the kind of the give and take of or the hemming and hawing about who's going to play. And Mac Jones just seems to get better and more comfortable in this offense every week. Christian McCaffrey's healthy and playing at a high level. And, you're coming off of a stretch of games where, you're trending in the right direction and the offense is kind of carrying you. The downside, the disappointing thing is, you go out and you make a move that I really loved 2 weeks ago. We haven't talked since the trade deadline. I love Keon White. Really liked him in the draft 2 years ago. Thought that was a great move, to get a guy with contractual control and who just wasn't a fit in that scheme there in New England, but has all the upside in the world to add to what they had on that young defensive line. Maybe get a chance to make life tough on Matt Stafford and get some pressure on him. And then not days from making that acquisition, then you lose Mykel Williams to a torn ACL. And essentially now White, it's kind of a 1-for-1 swap with Mykel because they kind of play similar games. Instead of adding, now you're just treading water there, and it's just going to make it tougher to get pressure on Stafford.
Yeah, the trades, I said at the time, like the trades are supposed to make you better. They're not just supposed to keep you the same. But that's not a knock on John Lynch and any deal that he did or didn't make. It's just the reality of the situation that they're in. I think Matthew Stafford is going to love throwing in the middle of the field without Fred Warner there. This is a massive test for Tatum Bethune, who's filling in for Fred, who's led the NFL in tackles since taking over, which is great. But We know how much Warner does in coverage. No one's going to be able to replace that. I think Stafford is going to. You're going to see some no-look throws, and poor Tatum Bethune is going to be like, what the hell kind of mutant is this at quarterback?
Yeah. Yeah, when you're in the middle of the field, you're just dodging Matthew Stafford dig throws all day long. So that's where they love to hurt teams, and we haven't really found a team that can stop that yet.
No, we have not. Nonetheless, I'm excited for this game, even though I sound doom and gloom. Kyle Shanahan coaches his best games against Sean McVay and the Rams.
Yep. I have learned this year more than any other. Do not count out the San Francisco 49ers, no matter who they have on the field, because they're going to get them ready to play.
We will see how that game goes. That is just the first of the NFC West showdown games. We still have Seahawks and Cardinals. Before we get there, Dan, just want to give everybody a chance to listen to us talk about Sleeper. You and I have both talked about how much we love it this year. We both have deals on our respective YouTube channels with Sleeper. Yeah. We couldn't endorse them more. Please go and check out their app. It is phenomenal. It has news. It has, of course, the picks you can make, all of that stuff. It has community on there just with the different people that use the app. You can talk to each other and watch the games together. It is really a phenomenal app. I couldn't be more impressed with it. And if you go and just sign up, you don't even have to deposit money. Just sign up just to check things out. You get a free $20 entry. So you can't even beat that. Now is the perfect time to hop on board if you haven't done so. And if you do want to deposit money, you can use my code, which is GSP, which is 100% match up to $100, or you can use Dan's code.
Forever.
Forever is the code.
Yeah.
And you'll get the
longer to type in, but
right. You still get the 100% match up to $100. Whatever code you decide to use, go check out Sleeper. It's super easy. You just pick higher or lower on different statistical categories, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Someone on this show's picks have hit about 70% of the time this year. I'm just saying. Maybe you want to listen to what we're telling you. We're pretty good at this, at least this year somehow. But go and check it out. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. So check out Sleeper today. Now, as we get to the other game in the NFC West, Cardinals, Seahawks, a couple of things. Number one, Cardinals have benched Kyler Murray to go with Jacoby Brissett. And I thought it was shocking, Dan, because they could have just said, Kyler's not healthy. We're putting him on IR. But when they were specifically asked if Kyler was healthy, would he be the quarterback? They said no. So they are publicly telling you that he is benched. It is over for Kyler Murray in Arizona.
Yeah, there's a lot of injury guarantees in his contract. We've seen this scenario play out in years past with Russell Wilson and Derek Carr, that they don't want to risk that. They have made the decision as an organization, as they should. And I've been saying this for years, probably should have before they signed him to that extension, but I digress. He's done as an Arizona Cardinal. This isn't a soft benching. This is a hard benching. He will stay on injury reserve for the rest of the year, and they'll try to move him in the offseason and just eat the dead money. In the meantime, in 3 games, Jacoby Brissett has thrown for almost as many yards as Kyler did in 5. He's getting Marvin Harrison involved. He had 10 targets on Monday night, got him involved early, had almost 100 yards and a touchdown. It's still a very limited offense. They have no running game. They have no one outside of Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. that really presents a legitimate threat to defenses. And yet that offense seems to run and operate a lot more efficiently now with Jacoby Brissett. He's going to make better decisions. And he actually moves around, I think, a little bit better than people give him credit for. He gives him a chance. And now they're healthier on defense, healthier than they were certainly in week 4 when the Seahawks faced them. Will Johnson didn't play in that game. Garrett Williams didn't play in that game. Their secondary was down a couple of guys. And then the rookie first-round draft pick, Walter Nolan, out of Ole Miss. We finally saw his debut on Monday, and he was disruptive. He's a guy that I wasn't really that impressed with when I saw him work out in Mobile at Senior Bowl practices, but he sure looked like a problem on Monday, going up against one of the highest-paid guards in the league and a first-round draft pick at guard as well. They're a different team than they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of forgot, at least non-Cardinals fans sort of forgot about him It was like, oh, yeah, they got Will Johnson. Okay. It was like, no, Walter Nolan is there too. I know a lot of 49er fans wanted them to draft Walter Nolan. A lot of them did. And I got a lot of people in my mentions. See, we took Micah Williams. He can't rush the passer at all. Look at Walter Nolan. Good for Cardinals fans. I'm sure they're very excited about it. But I agree with everything you said about the quarterback. That's what your quarterback is supposed to do. They're supposed to make the people around them better. The fact that Kyler Murray, for whatever reason, could not connect with Marvin Harrison was the biggest indictment on him. Like, they brought this guy in to help you, to make your life easier, and you just, it was a broken connection. And Jacoby Brissett is like, oh, I'm just going to throw it to that guy who's really good. And yeah, look at that. Turns out he looks a lot better. Who could have imagined?
Yeah. And Harrison does his best work in the middle of the field. Some of that mid to intermediate stuff. He's not really a burner down the field. And that's those patterns and that section of the field has always been Kyler Murray's Achilles heel. So now they got a guy in Brissett that is much better at operating in that part of the field. And so we'll see. I think what really makes this team different outside of the quarterback, obviously, is for years, what is the thing we have said about the Cardinals when it comes to their defense is they had no pass rush at all. They go out and they get Josh Sweat in the offseason. He's paid off. That was a nice move. He's got 7 sacks already. Calais Campbell, the ageless wonder, he has 5 sacks. Now you add Walter Nolan, Demarcus Robinson, who was their first round pick a year ago. They haven't got a lot of production out of him, but they're much, much deeper and more dynamic up front now than they have been in years.
How about, did you see what Marvin Harrison said about the Cardinals offense? Marvin Harrison Sr.?
Yes. Yeah.
He
the senior, the dad. Yeah.
Quote, it's very hard for me to watch the Cardinals offense, and you can quote me on that. Like, that is phenomenal. That is a dad, caping for his son a little bit. Like, he wants to see his son play well. I'm sure he loves the quarterback change there. And they're going up against the Seahawks team that I did not realize this, Dan, and I know you can give me more context on this. I saw a nugget somewhere, and I should have saved the tweet, but I didn't. The Seahawks have an explosive pass play rate of 21%, which is not just the best in the NFL this year. It is the best since the greatest show on turf Rams 24 years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, all of the narrative in the offseason was that Mike McDonald wanted to find a guy to operate his offense that was in alignment with how he wants to play football, right? Run the football under center, more play action, more tight end usage, physical, being able to dictate terms, being able to salt leads away and run the football late. And they bring in Clint Kubiak, and through the first 6, 7 games, 8 games, their run pass ratio is nearly 50%. And yet they're the most explosive offense in the league. Like, you nailed it. JSN, more yards per route run than anyone we've seen in years. Sam Darnold, number 1 in just about every metric across the board as far as, plays 10 plus yards, 20 plus yards, middle of the field. The explosive plays that they've gotten out of this offense would be remarkable enough on its face when you look at what the Seahawks have done on offense in the years previous to that. But then when you look at the fact that they're only averaging 3.7 yards per carry, they're not really running the football very well, when that was the emphasis of bringing in this entire new staff in the offseason, not just Kubiak, but John Benton, Rick Dennison, everyone that came with them. And they still haven't run the ball very well. That kind of makes the performance of Darnold and those passing weapons even more impressive.
And now you have a new toy, Rashid Shaheed, from the Saints. And, personally, I think that people are sort of overvaluing what he is as a receiver. He's an explosive big play receiver, though. And that's just another toy in this offense. And I always make the baseball analogy. The Seahawks are lengthening their lineup, right? Now Cooper Kupp doesn't have to be necessarily your wide receiver too. You can stretch it out a little bit. You lessen the load on him. That's going to make him better. And it was just a smart addition. It didn't cost the Seahawks that much. And I thought it was a solid move.
Yeah, in the moment when it happened, first of all, this is one of those instances where I have to put my hand up and admit that I was wrong, because leading up to the trade deadline, I had a lot of viewers and fans telling me that, we need to go out and get another weapon. We need a guy that can take the top off. We need to present more challenges to defenses. And I said, no, I don't want invest resources in the passing game when the volume isn't there to support it. And then we go out and trade for him, and we end up giving up a fourth and a fifth. And in the moment, my first reaction was, that's a lot to pay for a guy on the last year of his deal. Well, in the last 24 hours, we've heard from Shaheed himself. He has literally said, I'm here to stay. We'll get it figured out. This is where I'm going to be. That takes the sting away of a fourth and fifth round pick. And we're hearing narratives already that this might be a very strong draft overall. What I think he does, though, strangely enough, because a lot of the things he does well on the football field are things that Torrey Horton does well too. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing, obviously, in a rookie sample size, we're seeing some of that come to fruition. He had 2 touchdowns on Sunday night. But it's the threat that he poses. And I talked about the running game. The Seahawks are facing more stacked boxes than any team in the league. And even when they switch to 11 personnel and put 3 wide receivers on the field, they're still facing base defenses at like the 30th rate in the league. Teams are not switching into nickel or dime when they show passing formations. And that has contributed to them having a hard time running the football. I think you add Rashid Shaheed now to that lineup. I think defenses are going to respect him a little bit more than they do Torrey Horton, maybe even find some opportunities to get all 3 of them on the field at the same time. I think we'll see it as soon as this Sunday with Arizona. Teams are going to have to start backing off and committing other players into coverage to try and account for all of that. That should loosen up that running game.
It's amazing that they have been as explosive as they have been. I was wrong on Sam Darnold. I didn't think he'd play this well without Kevin O'Connell. He's cooking right now. We're talking about the MVP odds. He's right up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched pretty closely that Minnesota team last year. He's playing better. We've seen a number of instances now in the last couple of years that hopefully will teach us all in the future to maybe give a little more grace to quarterbacks that stumble early in their career, that some of these guys are good enough, smart enough, determined enough, committed enough to change that they can continue to develop and improve. You can see it in his footwork and his mechanics, his accuracy, his decision-making, his time to throw, getting rid of the football. He's doing everything at an even higher level than he was last year in Minnesota. And he's doing it behind another key to all of this is that offensive line in Seattle and how vastly improved they are. We're talking about an offensive line that for the last 7 or 8 years has been routinely ranked in the 30s when it comes to pass block win rate and run block win rate. They're in the upper third now. Their sack rate on dropbacks is 3.8% right now, second best in the league in sacks allowed per game at just 1.1. They're on pace to give up 19 sacks this year. That would be the best since 1977 when they gave up 21 when Jim Zorn was running around in a 14-game season. They gave up 54 sacks last year to Geno Smith. Sam himself got sacked 48 times for the Vikings in the regular season last year. They're keeping him clean. They're keeping him upright. And that's been a huge key to all this too.
That is a staggering number. And I have never been on the Geno Smith train. I was always one that was like, why do people keep telling me this guy is good when I watch these games and he is not good? When they traded for Sam Darnold and got rid of Geno Smith, like I'll never forget Mina Kimes was like, I can't believe they did this. Yep. And I'm sitting there like, really? I can? Sam Darnold's coming off a 35 touchdown year. Like, and I love Mina. I respect Mina. She knows more about football than I'll ever know. It was the one time I can remember her. Like I disagreed with her so much on that tweet. I was like, I'm as a Niner fan, as a fan of a team in this division, I don't want to see Geno Smith ever leave.
Yeah. And she's had to eat some crow to her credit this week, and she's taken it on the chin. And she said she'll gladly take that L because she is a not so closeted Seahawks fan. I'll say this, I felt the same way, but I think what's really kind of bearing itself out, I talked to Mike Sando during training camp, and we talked about this issue because he always does the quarterback tiers, right, for The Athletic, where he goes out and gets all that feedback from decision makers across the league about, where they place these quarterbacks. And the thing that someone said about Geno this offseason was, I think he might be a better quarterback on a bad team than he is on a good team. And I think we're seeing that. Like it makes a lot of sense. Now, then if you take that argument, well, then why Why isn't he better for the Raiders? Well, they might just be so dysfunctional and so bad. But in Seattle, there were times, and this is why I would defend him often. First of all, the talent's undeniable. Like, the dude can spin it as well as anyone in the league. But it was how well he played at times with everything falling apart around him. There were games where he was the only reason we had a shot to win those games. And so I'm frankly surprised that he's played as poorly as he has in with the Raiders, but it could just be a case of this as well. Two things. Number one is, he had the chip on his shoulder. He finally got the opportunity. He made it work in Seattle. Well, now you're on top of the world. Now you get to dictate where you go. You demand a trade. They send you where you want to be sent. They give you the money that you're looking for. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. Sometimes that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. But also, sometimes when quarterbacks get old, you like to use baseball analogies. We talk a lot about baseball off the air. Sometimes the best power hitters lose just a little bit of that bat speed. And when it happens overnight and they're done. They're just not the same player. Geno Suarez. Maybe some of that's happening with Geno Smith as well.
You had to mention a Seattle Mariner in there just to twist that knife a little bit.
Sorry, it just came out.
In terms of this game, I apologize if I'm not diving into it. I think the Seahawks are going to crush them. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that Jacoby Brissett is fine. He's an improvement over Kyler Murray, but I think that the Seahawks defensive line is going to be able to get pressure on him. I don't have any faith in Arizona's running game to be able to help him out in that case. I think the Seahawks are going to roll them. I really do.
Honestly, like, coming into today, I was thinking like a fan, and not just a fan of the Seahawks, but a fan of the league. And Cardinals looked good on Monday, right? But they did it against, and even their defense, that was maybe some of my cause for concern. Like, that Cowboys offense was flying high, and Dak Prescott was just, throwing bombs all over everybody. They slowed that down, and that's cause for concern. But what they did on offense against that terrible Cowboys defense wasn't that impressive. And so I allowed it to enter into my thinking that, like, they might be a little more difficult than I thought. But I've spent the entire day talking about the Cardinals and this game. And I think when you just step back and try and look at it as objectively as possible, I don't know how they're going to score against this Seattle defense. Like, when you have no running game, when Eddie DeMarcado is your lead running back, and they don't have a single running back that has over 200 yards rushing on the season. And then you really only have, as I mentioned earlier, just the two legitimate weapons on offense. Michael Wilson will make a play from time to time. And then you have a quarterback that just he's never beat the Seahawks, by the way. He's 0-2 in his career. It just seems like they don't match up well with what the Seahawks do well. I don't know how they're going to keep Jacoby Brissett clean, to your point. I think they're going to harass the crap out of him all day long. I think with a healthy Nick Emenwari and how we've seen him used, and Devin Witherspoon being back now, I think they have the perfect guys to match up against McBride and maybe take him out. I just see a very, very difficult time unless they go out and play a really sloppy game like they did at home against Houston, or like, what happened with the Rams and 49ers the last time they played. I just don't see how the Cardinals are going to score enough to win this game.
You can't have a letdown game if you're the Seahawks. Not in the division, not when you're trying to fight off the Rams and the 49ers. Like, this is what I said the Niners-Giants game last week was. It's a handle your business game. You're better than the Cardinals. You have better coaches than the Cardinals. You have better players than the Cardinals. Go out and take care of them. It shouldn't be close. It shouldn't be white knuckling. Go and handle the damn thing. And then, set yourself in a position to compete in the NFC West down the stretch here.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's why I don't really view this as a true trap game. We've seen several instances now where Mike Macdonald is just really, really good at communicating with his football team and keeping them focused. And I think there's a couple of narratives leading up to this game that he's going to be pounding away at. One is obviously, as you just pointed out, like, everything that's important about the next week and that matchup against the Rams becomes less important if they don't win this game. They got to get to that game at 7-2 to really have everything out in front of them that they want to achieve. The other thing is this: I guarantee you, Mike Macdonald is going to be reminding this team each and every day in practice this week of how they had this Cardinals team down on the mat in week 4. They had their foot on their throat. They were up 2 touchdowns, a chance to make it 3. They get the holding call on JSN that calls back the Zach Charbonnet touchdown. They miss the field goal. They let the Cardinals tie the game up, and they have to win it in the last second with the field goal. That's not – Mike Macdonald's going to be reminding them of that. Like, this is a team that we should stomp, and when we get up on them, let's put them away.
And the thing, too, is if you come out a little slow, sometimes in these games, I'm sure the Cardinals are thinking, hey, this could be a rough week for us. But if they come out and they keep it close early, all of a sudden you see that other team start to get that little bit of belief like, hey, maybe we can knock these guys off a little bit. And sometimes in a game, you could see that sort of grow as you go along. The longer the game is close, the more that belief will grow within the Cardinals. That's not something you want to deal with if you're Seattle. Now, you're at home, so I think that'll help with that too.
Well, I was just going to say that. I think that's another big point in narrative. They have made that an emphasis. Mike Macdonald talks about it with the team on an almost daily basis. They need to get that home field advantage back again. And I think some of the factors that play into why that's gone away the last couple of years have been overblown a little bit. I think they just haven't played good enough football in their home games to win most of those games. I think there's a chance that this is going to be the most electric crowd that we've seen this year. Look, the Houston game, we heard it literally during that game. We heard the air go out of the crowd when the Mariners lost Game 7 to the Blue Jays that night. I think there was a lot of split attention among the fan base over the last couple of home games with what was going on with them. And I think they sense what's happening. They sense how good this team is becoming and that there might be something special on the horizon for this team, not just this year, but kind of moving out and forward. Everyone's excited about the acquisition of Shaheed, and they know what's coming the week after with the Rams. The Cardinals don't travel well. Shoot, they don't even turn out well for their own home games at times. I think that the crowd's going to be felt. It's incumbent on the Seahawks to do what you were just talking about and get out early, which they've done a pretty good job at offensively this year, scoring early.
I hadn't thought about how the Mariners sort of would have split the attention of the fans in Seattle. It's usually not something you have to worry about, quite frankly.
No, it's not. I saw it on my YouTube channel. As soon as the Mariners were eliminated, views went back up again. So yeah, there's obviously crossover in the fan base. And I think that kind of took away some of the energy.
Well, we'll see if they can get it back this week against the Arizona Cardinals. As we said, so you are expecting a Seahawks victory and a Rams victory?
I am. I just think this is a revenge game, and I'd put my money on McVay in a revenge game. If I'll say this though, as impressed as I have already been, and I think I've said it numerous times on the record on this show this year, with the job that 49ers have done in the face of all their injuries, if they find a way to win again on Sunday, then I may have to wear. I'm not committing to this. I may have to wear a 49ers hat next week on the show. Ooh. It would be maybe the most impressive coaching accomplishment that I can recall in the last couple of years. And we started off talking about the schedule makers. Why in hell are these two games at the same time on Sunday? That blows me away. In fact, I think I'm going to bring the second TV out and have really set it up on Sunday so I can watch them both intently at the same time. That's just ridiculous that they let that happen.
Now, as a Seahawks fan, is it more advantageous to Seattle to have the 49ers win or the Rams?
I love this question because I think differently than most fans. A lot of fans, and some of them have told me this week, like they would like to see the 49ers beat the Rams again because they're the team that we're tied with and knock them down. And I look at it differently. We still control our fate against the Rams. We have 2 games remaining against them. Mm-hmm. And you also have a 49er team that's injured, banged up and injured, try to keep a team down when it's quote unquote down. They're obviously not down that far with 5 wins. But to my point, I think it would be better for the Rams to win because then we could turn around and take care of our games against them. But again, I acknowledge that I think differently. I think most fans would disagree with me on that.
It's a good point you make because like you've already lost once to the Niners.
Right.
So, and you haven't played the Rams yet, but do you want to be in a position where you have to win both games against the Rams to control the division? I don't know. I don't know that there is a right answer in this in this question.
Yeah, because even if you flip it over and you say, okay, well, they have a chance to even the score with the 49ers but it doesn't happen until week 18 and there might be nothing on the line.
That's
like
true.
all seeding might be set at that point and both teams are resting players. So that's why I think the opportunity is a little bit more tangible with facing the Rams 2 more times.
The Seahawks have a scoring differential of plus 81 on the season. The Rams have a scoring differential of plus 82 and the Niners have a scoring differential of plus 6 on the season,
which is less. The Cardinals are at plus 9 with 3 wins. That's
true.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old batting average on balls in play stat. Like it's sometimes the raw numbers don't tell the whole story.
Very true. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the analysis as always. Please like this video, subscribe to both channels, subscribe to the Gold Standard podcast, subscribe to the Seahawks Forever channel on YouTube. Hype these videos as well. Don't just like it, hype it. That's like a super like. So if you want to do the best possible thing you can do for the video on each channel, hype it. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. I can say this week, Dan, good luck. And we'll talk next week.
You as well, sir. Thanks. It's always a pleasure.